Hello here and welcome to another edition of the HuskerOnline show. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple, Robin Watch. I have to say hello there. I always get corrected by that. I have a bad habit of saying hello here. Hello there.
Hello here.
Hello there.
Hello there.
It's been a long.
Wonder why you say hello.
I don't know, but there's
hello
one guy
here
in the comments that
I saw it.
He jumps me on that, and I'm on you, buddy. You're not going to win today, but we're back.
That was harsh.
We're back from Texas, and let me tell you, it was a great trip.
It was,
and we're going to delve into that in our first three segments here. But Sip and Greg Peterson, our videographer, and I were down in Belton, Texas, Monday, and we were down in Houston on Tuesday. And you know, it's kind of a tough itinerary to throw together, but it really works. I mean, we fly to Dallas, we drive to Waco, which is about 90 minutes. We stay in Waco. Then we drive to Belton on Monday morning, and that's about a 35, 40-minute drive to Belton. And then they had the all-day camp there, and we worked till close to 8 o'clock Monday night, then drove 2 hours and 45 minutes to Houston. And then the camp happened on Tuesday morning and Tuesday afternoon, and we traveled back Wednesday. So it was a jam-packed itinerary, but, you know, it's very hard in today's media day and age to create good access, and this trip to Texas does that. And it's why I know, as an older guy that's been doing this a long time, me too, it's exciting because we get a lot out of this trip.
Yeah,
and we've done it now 2 years in a row, and this has been outstanding.
Yeah, I mean, just Rob, to give you like an example, it's kind of, when you kind of step back from it, it's kind of bizarre. I mean, you walk into a camp in Belton in Nebraska, there's some players there, and the UTEP assistants were there, Texas El Paso assistants, and then Nebraska's 8 assistants are standing there, and you literally walk in, you know, and there's some time, and I just went up to Evan Cooper and said, "Got time? Got a second for an interview?" And there you go. You just start interviewing guys.
Beautiful.
Like, yeah.
Which, how many times does that happen in Lincoln, Nebraska?
Never. I mean, I tell Sean, even if it's not the greatest stuff, which we got really good stuff, it's always original.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's original, it's your own, and that's good. And the coaches are really incredibly accommodating. I mean, I would say, I kind of praise them for that, I guess, that they'll give you the time that you need, answer the questions. It's not great. It's not perfect. Like, I interviewed Satterfield at the end of the Belton camp, and he was tired. He was worn down, but he still did it. Great interview. We got a ton of information. So a lot of my stuff will come out later. You know, they'll come out this weekend, a little bit next week, but probably 8 columns out of it, which is an incredible amount in June.
And they picked up David Höffken, and we'll get into that in our next segment.
David,
I want to have that.
Say that name again.
Höffken.
Yes.
And we're gonna talk David.
Say it like that too.
Höffken, in a full segment here after this, but we got to get to Sip first, because it was quite a trip for Steve Sipple.
Yeah,
you know,
really sounds like it.
He had a play script that he came in with, and he had to deviate off his play script really after the first play of the game. I mean, Sipple left his luggage.
Oh yeah.
In Omaha, or excuse me, in Lincoln.
Yeah.
And we both pulled into Omaha Epley at the same time.
Poor Sean.
I stayed the night in Omaha. We had a wedding on Saturday, so we just stayed. Saw Nash Hutmacher at a wedding.
Sean gets this. This is what Sean gets right at the start of the trip. We're talking on the phone. He's on the 3rd floor of the north parking garage in Omaha at Epley, and I'm on the 5th floor. We're just talking, and I said, "I'll be damned, I forgot my luggage."
And he goes, "You think I have time to go back?" And it's 2 hours to the flight. We're there plenty early, but not early.
It's a hell of a thing to forget.
And so
that doesn't exactly elicit a lot of confidence from the
Right.
You did what?
An auspicious start to the trip.
Right. I had to kind of say, okay, no, it's okay. I got what I got on, and it just means a quick trip
Just wear
to
this all
Target.
week.
No, we just go to Target. We're just gonna have to find.
yeah.
a Target.
So I don't know how you settled on Target. I mean, that's pretty high end for you.
Okay.
I mean, you're the guy that's buying shirts at Super Saver.
Really ritzed it up.
But I was impressed. So we go to Target. We get into
Sean was amazing in Target. Although, have you noticed that Sean is always on deadline? when there's no deadline.
Yeah, with everything. Yeah.
I kept thinking to myself, why are we rushing? We got nowhere to be.
Well,
Dinner.
Yeah, you gotta get to dinner. That's the deadline.
But so simple finds his shirts, and he hadn't found shorts yet. He goes, "Can you go over and find me some
Well,
shorts?"
he called me. Sean he didn't want to shop with me. He was going and doing his own thing. I couldn't find shorts. I got some cargo shorts that are way too big. And he called me when I was in the changing room and said, "Hey, how you doing? Are you about done?" I'm like, "Not exactly. I haven't found any shorts except for these cargo shorts that would like fit EJ Barthel." So I wasn't. I thought of a big guy,
Terrence Knight.
Yeah. So I tried on a shirt and I took it off, and Sean had brought over some shorts.
I went to like they have like their own.
Sean,
kinda,
on deadline. Oh, I'll give you these shorts. I'm like, okay, well, I don't have my shirt on, but I guess I could just stick my arm out the door. But I opened the door and I didn't have a shirt on, which I didn't think was a big deal. Sean did.
I said to Sip, I go, I didn't know I signed up for the whole show. And some lady hears me and she's like,
half naked Sip
who
right out
are
the
these
gate.
guys? Like, what are they doing?
In this country now, I contemplated just trying on the shirts out in the store. For a second, I thought, okay, I can do this quick. Nobody's going to notice. But
these shorts changed his life, though. They have kind of like a knockoff Lululemon brand at Target.
Are they knockoff?
Oh, okay.
I mean,
They're nice. I got them.
Well, they're like a Lululemon type short for men, but Target sells them for $20.
They're nice.
At Lululemon, you'd pay like $85 for
That's
those shorts.
remarkable.
And Sipple, I brought 3 colors, 3 pairs. Sip's like, I'm buying all 3.
Yeah.
So
they were nice.
There you go.
he was pretty pumped up.
I haven't bought shorts since like '99.
Yeah.
I mean,
Time to upgrade.
Yeah.
And he got compliments.
I did. Got strange
Good-looking
compliments. Yeah.
The luggage
good, no
story,
shorts.
though,
I'm like,
wasn't. It didn't
really?
end, though. The luggage story didn't end.
No.
So when we go back to the Houston airport, Sipple refused to like buy just like a cheap duffel bag or just a bag to carry your stuff. So his suitcase all week were just the white plastic Target bags. and so in the back seat of our car, he had 2 Target white bags all week.
I kept telling Sean, that's my clothes. Like, don't ram your stuff into them.
And we go through security at Hobby Airport, and it was kind of a stress situation. It's because it was raining, and we didn't cut it close, but you know how that is.
Didn't sleep. I didn't sleep because we had a dance team at the Marriott, and I was surrounded by like 17-year-olds in one room.
They had their music blaring.
Yeah, they're playing.
And then they
hip-hop
used
at
all the
7 in
hot
morning.
water, so
Oh,
Sipple
boy.
couldn't shower.
No hot water, no sleep.
But Sipple leaves his white Target bag at Hobby Airport security.
With my old clothes.
And I tell him, I go, hey, we're at gate 40. And he thought I said gate 4. So he goes all the way to gate 4. And he goes, where are you guys?
Disaster.
I go, we're at gate 40.
I thought it was 4D.
And
I was like, there's no 4D.
it
Doesn't exist.
Jordine 4D. I mean, but yeah, he left his bag and all like a lot of these new items he purchased, or was this all old stuff that got left back?
Yeah, it was the old stuff. Yeah, I think there might have been. Yeah, it was all old stuff. But there was that. The big thing was it was my favorite pair of jeans I wear 4 times a week, and a belt that I had just bought. So I'm gonna have to go get it.
So it was a good trip. I mean, Sipple kind of got down in the game, 14-0 in the first quarter, and he rebounded.
Resilience was tested.
But as
It
we were
wasn't that
running up the score and the backups came in, he put his guard down and had another moment of weakness.
Yeah, it was. There was news coming out of it in the form of offers and a commitment, but there's, again, the access to the coaches is great. It's just incredible, and it's good watching them work. And you see those camps. I think it's sort of interesting just to watch the camps, and they're going to play Houston Christian next year,
and they'll play UTEP to open the year. And so
Scotty Walden was there.
Like we interviewed both Scotty Walden and what's the Houston
Jason
Bachtel, the Houston Christian coach. We interviewed both of them, and that's Amari Vickerson, who Nebraska offered for 2027. Right,
2027 defensive lineman has a Texas offer and has a Missouri offer. There's EJ Barthel. Thank you,
but
Megan. See that the shorts would have fit him, so you can imagine how big they were on me.
Yeah, the two, that was another interesting storyline though. That
Well, I'm 5'8", 170. Okay.
Saying EJ's catching straight.
Arthur's a big, strong dude. He's
we
a
were
big,
we were
strong
with
dude.
Scotty Walden though.
Yeah.
and just spending time around him was interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the energy. He's a high energy guy, but Bachtel told us, now Bachtel's a Texan. Scotty Walden's a Texan. Scotty Walden is from Fort Worth originally, the UTEP coach. And you get that energy from guys, right? And you always wonder, okay, they always like that. Rob, you see basketball coaches like that.
Mhm.
And sometimes they're not really like that. They're not always on. They, like Bachtel said, that Scotty Walden is always on no matter what. Anytime you see him anywhere, he's like, he is. He's high. And
He was a spokesperson for Juarez, Mexico. I'm not sure there's too many of those people on the earth.
well, he was interesting. He really surprised me with that part of his interview with us, with you in particular, where he said El Paso is one of the most misrepresented places in the world, or in the U.S. for sure. And he says it's one of the safest places in America. Top 5 safest. I don't know who documents all that. I just attributed it to him because I don't know.
Source, Scotty Walden.
Yeah. But anyway, he was very intent on that. And I'll tell you what else he did. We'll write this. I mean, you wonder, like I just asked him, how do you in this college football world, how can you make it work at a place like UTEP? And Robin, he just laid out an answer that you would say, okay, if you're an AD, I think we need to hire this guy, because he laid it out point by point. This is how you do it. And I was halfway convinced you can do it, So, or maybe a little more than halfway.
When I talked to Brett Bloomquist from the El Paso Times, he said, I'll tell you this, Scotty Walden must interview incredibly, because
think about it.
Every job he's applied or been up for, he gets. I mean, 34 years old, and he's already been a head coach 3 places.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was interim head coach at Southern Miss, head coach at Austin P, took him to the playoffs, and now he's there at UTEP. And they had the #1 ranked recruiting class in Conference USA.
Okay. That doesn't surprise me at all. It doesn't. Not after meeting him.
So you're saying don't overlook the minors.
I wouldn't say that.
Well, I'm kind of saying it. There'll be what's the word I'm looking for?
Well coached.
Well coached, spunky.
Well, they have a NFL edge player, Westmoreland's his last name, and he was first team all conference. So they'll have a guy that will get after the tackles. I mean, if Benhard and Prohaska are off a little bit, I mean, they'll have a guy that can get to the quarterback. So can he disrupt Dylan Raiola? And he praised Dylan Raiola. He's like,
oh, he did.
He said Dylan Raiola is as good as I've seen.
Yeah. He's his favorite all-time player, Eric Crouch. Because he would now we're talking about Scotty Walden. He was a Division III quarterback, but his all-time favorite player is Eric Crouch.
Nice.
All right. When we come back, we're going to get into David Höffken. David Höffken. I'm had a mental lapse there, but we're going to talk about Nebraska's latest roster addition, David Höffken, next. You're listening here to the Husker Online Show. And we're back here on the Husker Online Show. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple, Robin Waschet. Before we get to some David Höffken discussion, this segment of the Husker Online Show brought to you by Omaha Steaks. And with Father's Day right around the corner, what do you give the man who has everything easy? You give him an experience he'll never forget. You give him Omaha Steaks, because a world-class dad deserves a world-class steak. The Father's Day experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to put a smile on the big guy's face this summer with hand-selected gift packages starting at just $89. Just go to omahasteaks.com and use the promo code HuskerOnline at checkout for an additional discount when you shop gourmet gift packages for Father's Day. With Omaha Steaks, the possibilities are endless. Endless flavor, endless variety, and endless value. Truly, they have perfected more than just steak, and your dad is guaranteed to love every bite. Pick from the premium proteins like the juicy pork chops, air-chilled chicken, and beefy burgers. Go to Omaha Steaks, though, and use that promo code HuskerOnline to get those exclusive savings. Shop for the unforgettable gifts that are guaranteed to make Dad's day. But because there's only one thing Omaha Steaks knows, it's dads want steak. That's omahasteaks.com. The promo code is HuskerOnline at checkout to get these exclusive packages starting at just $89. Thanks again to Omaha Steaks for sponsoring us here on the Husker Online show. Okay, let's get back into David Höffken because Sip, we haven't really got into the story, but here we are in Belton, Texas. We're just kind of getting our sea legs established, figuring out that, God, there's this large group of kids all wearing yellow shorts. There's like 30 of them, 20 of them maybe.
Yeah.
And then we see a bunch of people with them in these Gridiron import shirts. And
it was strange, Rob.
It's a
in a good way,
nonprofit group that is based out of Oklahoma. I mean, that's where Chris Adamson's from, is Tulsa.
Okay.
And anyway, they help foreign football players get notice in America.
Yeah.
And so David Höffken was there, and there were
about how many?
I think the group was close to 50 when you count the skill players.
Okay.
But I heard you say this on another show, Sip. I mean, the talent in their group was more in the lines.
Bigger guys. But Rob, it was interesting. These guys had bright green shorts on. So that's how, like, one of the people said, hey, the guys in the bright green are from Gridiron Imports. And you didn't think much of it. Like, oh, who are these kids? Oh, they're foreign, German. Where else, Sean? I mean, various places.
Mostly Germany, though.
Yeah. So you didn't, I got to tell you, I didn't really take it seriously. Like, oh, okay. That's a nice little story.
Right.
But anyway.
Well, yeah. And so the organizers of Gridiron Imports, Chris Adamson, but then Brian Spanins, who's the European director for Gridiron Imports, was there. And he immediately points out David. He goes, now, this is our guy, David. He's 22 years old, but everywhere he goes, everybody just starts to watch him. And
he's 6'7", 260, Rob, with like no
washboard abs.
Yeah, like does
like light and Bertha stuff.
Yeah, I mean, just think about 6'7", 260 with no body fat.
With a 6'11" wingspan and a 9'4" broad, which God bless the Nebraska fan sleuths on the Red Sea Squirrels. A 9'4" broad for a lineman would be one of the best at the NFL Combine.
Yep, there you go. And he size 18 feet. That's what
still growing.
Snow skis.
That's what Knighton said to me. He said, "Look at the feet.
Still growing."
I don't know. He's 22.
He's 22.
Oh yeah, good.
So he might not.
Good point.
But look at him right there. I mean, you got to keep in mind you're looking at 6'7", 260 right there. But that's not the body type you'd expect, right? I mean, he looks like it's if you just scaled it, he looks like a guy that would be like a running back.
So day one, they kind of watched him, and you saw Knighton and Raiola kind of really lock in on him, start coaching him, teaching him some things. Particularly Raiola started showing him some pass pro moves, and he took to the coaching really well, to the point where I know the Nebraska coaches were blown away how well he looked in pass pro, considering this is a guy that's probably never done it. And they're like, wow, he's got something. We can work with this. But the story from Gridiron Imports day one was actually the defensive lineman on their team. They had a defensive end named Konstantin Pastros, and they offered him, and he is in the States right now at a prep school in Connecticut, Choate Rosemary Hall. And so Nebraska offered Konstantin on Monday. And then, they all came back. So these Gridiron Import kids, what was fascinating to me is they fly them all into Dallas because Dallas has a very good international airport. And they negotiated a deal with the Embassy Suites by DFW Airport. And these rooms obviously have 2 beds, then a separate suite area with a pull-out couch. So they can keep 3 kids to a room. They give them free breakfast. And anybody knows Embassy Suites is kind of known for their big breakfast. So they're feeding these guys a big breakfast. They're sleeping 3 to a room. But then they drive 3 to 4 hours every morning to different camps from Dallas. So at show taping time here on Thursday, Gridiron Imports, including David Höffken, is at Oklahoma.
Uh-oh.
Alarm bells!
Oh, boy.
Here it comes.
What do you think about that, Sean?
I think it's just part of the deal. Like, these kids are living in a hotel by the Dallas-Fort Worth airport, and they paid to go to all these camps. So they're going to go on a tour of like 10 camps, and you pay ahead of time for this deal. So David Höffken, who's been working a job in a drugstore, part-time work to pay his bills, he paid for this trip.
Right.
And
so he's not going to sit in his room.
Yeah, you're not going to, are you going to play football or sit in an Embassy Suites? I'd actually be more concerned if He's like, I'm just going to sit in the embassy suites at the Dallas Fort Worth airport by myself.
Yeah.
And then these kids drive to the camp. And then if it's a 3 or 4 hour drive, when the camp's over, they drive home.
You know what Donovan Raiola or Matt Rule would say to him, right, Rob? I mean,
Compete.
They'd say, no, go to Oklahoma. Don't sit in your room, for God's sake.
Mm-hmm.
Go get better. Go get better.
Constantine, though, it'll be interesting if Oklahoma offers him, because he'll be there too.
That would be really interesting.
You know, and he's on a really good prep school program. But Höffken, you know, it was an emotional moment, and the Gridiron Imports guys captured that part on Instagram.
Which part?
When he got his offer from Nebraska, and the coaches were all surrounding him and talking to him, and said they want him to be a Husker. And, you know, they want to get this going right away. Let's do it now. Let's get the paperwork going. And he committed. And he got on his knees and, like, literally, you know, broke down in emotion.
Rob, I mean, think about it. It's, to me, I mean, they did a good job of ferreting him out. You're at the camp. You're doing your job. I thought it was a no-brainer because you just don't find many big athletes like that. They're just they're not around. I mean, honestly, running backs, receivers, DBs, dime a dozen. They are.
I mean, he's kind of like the definition of the prospect Rule and the staff look for, you know, kind of just that ball of clay that has all the intangibles
100.
that you can't coach.
Right.
We'll bring him to Nebraska. We'll coach it up. We'll find the best spot for him. So, I mean, like,
exactly right.
Is he, I know he's working out at offensive line. Is he for sure offensive line? Or
Yeah.
He's got a chance for defense.
Oh, he could. I think he could play defense, but they got him at
the need. Okay, guys, they were looking.
Need.
They were looking for young, buildable portal tackles.
They don't have a wealth of depth at tackle right now.
Like, after Prohaska, Benhart, and Corcoran leave the program, which 2 of them will be gone after this year, what do you have there? Right?
You have Gunnar Gatula, you have Jacob Hood, you have Brock Knutson, you have Tyler Kanak.
You don't have much.
That's about it. I mean, that's it.
Like, if you're,
I mean, there's younger, but there's not much there.
But do any of those guys run 4.9 and broad 9.4? I don't
say
think
no.
So. I would say no. Now,
Right.
So they look at that like, all right, let's let Kristen and Corey Campbell and the strength and conditioning and performance team get their hands on this guy. Let's get him as close to 300 as we can.
Oh, he's
Probably won't be that hard.
No, if you look at, oh God, that's one thing that Chris Adamson, that Gridiron Imports lead dog, pointed out. He said, look at his knees, look at his legs. Rob, you could put 50 pounds on him without straining his give me the word, without straining him.
Right.
Easy to do. He's just got huge joints. Like, if you just look at his knees are gigantic. So yeah, you can put a lot of weight on that. Oh, he's an incredibly intriguing player. That's how I would characterize it. He's incredibly intriguing.
And he's been through a lot. I mean, you're not going to meet a guy that's going to come as hungry as this guy. I mean, he's been out of the game of football for 2 years,
right,
working like a real job.
Personal family reasons.
And it didn't get into it, but
No,
in COVID, I think the COVID pandemic really sidelined his career because he wanted to get to the States. And anybody knows how hard it was over really about an 18-month period to travel internationally.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, remember in Ireland? I mean, I guess when I went to Ireland the first time, the amount of COVID tests you had to do, I mean, it was scary. Like,
no, you're right. I think that was one factor that waylaid him. And then there were some other factors we don't really need to know about. He was a German club team star, and I don't know what that entails. It's just hard for us.
Well, he kept getting elevated. He started out playing 5-on-5 full contact football.
5-on-5. Yeah.
We have 6-man, 8-man. They got 5-man football.
Right.
But he got elevated to a team called the Crocodiles.
Right. So yeah, I don't know how all that is, but I just know what you saw, and what you saw was, I mean, he knew what he was doing, and he picked up things quickly. So yeah, I mean, it was quite a story to watch unfold.
And the hope is that it'll get here about July. I mean, I heard it on a show. Somebody's like, are they worried about him getting? No, they're not worried about him getting here. There's just a process.
Yeah, there's some rigmarole, but it's manageable.
Like, there's a visa that he's got to get, a student visa, which they hand those out all the time. It's not like we're talking about, trying to get somebody illegally across the border.
No,
I mean,
no.
it's it's a pretty
Wow.
simple process.
Wow.
Well, on that note, you were being interviewed on one of the shows I was driving this morning, and the guy is like, "Are you worried about him having?" I'm like, "What are we doing here?" Like,
no, we're not worried. I mean, there's some
How
transcript.
are the border restrictions going to
like
play?
I mean, what are we like? Somebody, I couldn't believe. I was like, "Are you worried about getting him?" I'm like, "What are we trying to do here?"
No, I'm with you.
Get him over from a third world. I mean, come on. But all right, when we come back, let's talk more about Texas, the Husker coaches. You're listening here to the Husker Online Show. And we're back here on the Husker Online Show. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple, Robin Washett, and this segment, Steve Sipple, is brought to you by who?
The fine people at Larson Motors. Larson Motors. If you're looking for a new vehicle, go for a new experience at Larson Motors in Nebraska City. Larson Motors is one of the Midwest's only dealerships with all the major brands in one locale. Finding your new Chevrolet, GMC, Hummer, Ford, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, or Ram never has been easier. Start your new experience today at LarsonMotorGroup.com or at Larson Motors in Nebraska City. Larson Motors, real people, and I don't even need to ask you, Sean, but I will anyway. Real people,
deals.
Real deals.
Real deals. Get some deals. Go to Nebraska City.
Good
I mean, what a
time.
day to go, by the way. It's just gorgeous. Just take that drive. I mean, spend some time on the lot and pick out something.
Get that Hummer.
Yeah. Hummer's an interesting choice.
Or that light duty.
Yeah, I might get a light duty.
Light duty trucks.
Get a new light duty. You
All
can
right.
maneuver it around. Easy to park, Sean.
That's right.
You had some parking problems.
Oh,
We didn't even have a big vehicle.
we got a Ford. Is it an Edge?
Yeah,
Or
Ford
an
Edge.
Escape, like the kind of like the small SUV of Ford. That was
Yeah,
our
you had a
route.
little parking issue with that. Now imagine trying to park one of those gigantic trucks like you were trying to do. Just saying, light duty.
We drove 400 miles in Texas.
Oh God, that
It's easy to do down there.
to drive from Belton to Houston. Woof.
A lot of one lane road.
That tests you.
Test Sean.
We went to Buc-ee's though, Robin. Have you been to Buc-ee's?
I know. I've never been to a Buc-ee's.
We it just kind of worked out this way, but we went to Buc-ee's 3 times.
3 times in a day.
I mean, I believe it.
Yeah,
3 times in a day.
3 times.
No,
in
no,
one-
no, and no.
Didn't we?
Why did you go to
No,
Buc-ee's 3 times?
we went-
Okay, twice in it.
We went Sunday afternoon.
Okay,
Then we went on
twice on
Monday.
twice. on
Monday, we went there for breakfast Monday
Yeah, and then we
Because-
caught one on the way to Houston.
because the hotel, like usually you get the free breakfast, and they didn't really know. Like, well, we're just gonna go to Buc-ee's then.
Oh yeah, the free breakfast, European style.
Yeah, right up your alley.
Right up
Get
your
some
alley.
avocado toast.
Yeah, great. That's what I want. All right, come on. keep
But
going.
we the Buc-ee's brisket was legit.
Pretty legit, isn't it? I mean, like a coffee, like just a black coffee with a Buc-ee's brisket burrito is about as good as you can do.
Hmm.
In
You
terms of
can't-
even health, like you just feel incredible. After
It's
that.
so busy though. Like you
Oh yeah, Sean and Greg coined the term Buc-ee blinders. What's Buc-ee blinders?
So when you're in this place, imagine like a gas station the size of a Hy-Vee.
Yeah.
That's about what it is.
Mhm.
And people are just mesmerized by everything.
and what happens?
And they're just not paying attention.
And then what
they just run it. I mean, people just run like people just run into you.
they do.
It's chaos.
It's like, what are we doing here? Like, it's just a bottle of water. It's just a brisket taco. Like, I mean, you got to run into me because you're looking around. But yeah, it was really good. I had a brisket taco.
Yeah.
And then I had a
Or
brisket.
brisket burrito.
Well, I had a brisket sandwich for dinner because we didn't have time to get dinner after Belton. That was our dinner by the time we got there.
Mhm. Yeah, Buc-ee's is quite. Rob, you need to go. You do. I mean, it's an experience.
if I have the opportunity, I will take it.
It's
I've
really
got one
just
in
haven't had it.
Colorado.
Yeah. So when you guys were off doing that, I was in Wyoming. As I was driving back, like
okay.
almost 300 miles away, there was a sign for a Buc-ee's in southeastern Wyoming. I'm sure advertising the one in Colorado. So yes, I'm
They do that. That's
very
amazing.
aware of the branding of Buc-ee's.
I feel like one could work right between Omaha and Lincoln, like right at that 426 or 420, just to kind of snatch the traffic both ways.
Those people that have businesses there, they don't want to hear that.
it would put a lot of people out of business.
Yes. It's basically like the Walmart of convenience stores.
They have like 60.
It is.
It's like 60 gas pumps there. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, it might even be more than that.
Yeah, it's one of those things you got to kind of see to believe.
But anyway, let's get back to the
Sports.
football side. But I picked up a lot of interesting things from the coaching staff this week in Texas. We were able to talk to all 8 of them at length. Sip, for you, what I know this is very broad, and I hate when people do this like on a talk show. What was the biggest thing you learned this spring? I mean,
there was a lot. There was a lot of things.
Way to prepare for the show.
Easy, Sean. There was a lot. The thing that stands out, and I'll write about this. I don't mind saying it because I'll just preview the Sunday column. I had no idea on some of this stuff. For instance, Terrence Knighton. We were just talking about his room, Rob, and he said that Jamari Butler is the guy that runs our room. I mean, he's our leader. Okay, yeah, exactly. I was like, really, Jamari Butler? He goes, oh yeah. He goes, it was after the Michigan game. He and Fedoni they took control of the team.
Interesting.
Fedoni and Jamari Butler. Never would have guessed that. You'd think
Maybe Fedoni.
Yeah, maybe Fedoni, but in the defensive line room, you'd say what? Ty
Nash.
Yeah, or Nash. No, Jamari Butler. And he's a player. I mean, he's a guy. He thinks that if he
was their best pass rusher last year.
That's exactly what Terrence Knighton said. He said he could, if he can get 8-9 sacks, he'll be a pro. He's interesting because he uses inside. He goes inside. His move is inside. But Knighton said no inside moves this spring. You're going outside. So that was interesting to me. Even the Fedoni picture was kind of interesting to me. And then the other thing, now I'm not going to say everything that Knighton said about James Williams, but James Williams is absolutely. They are looking at him as one of the best defensive players on the team now.
Defensive players,
yes, not just linemen.
He's not a one-trick pony.
No. He's one of no. He's made a big move, James.
And
Williams.
this is a guy they found at a camp,
at a grad school, as a postgraduate
camp in Lincoln. He had 18 sacks though as a senior in high school, and this guy was a tweener, needed some development. And he's getting that. Knighton
said, just watch the Maryland tape. Not just the Maryland tape, but watch the Maryland tape and watch the tackle for Maryland, which Maryland had good tackles. He said, watch the Maryland tackle when James Williams is in there. He's constantly saying to the ref, am I okay? Can I back up a little further? I need to back up a little more, back up a little more. Yeah. Because Williams was wreaking havoc. So but it's not just pass rusher.
So I was going to say he's developed his game because that was the talk this spring. I think it was Matt Rule or somebody mentioned him as a guy that they wanted to become that every down.
Now he's more of an every down guy. One of the better defenders on the team.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I will say this too. Evan Cooper kind of really ran the show down there. It felt like of those guys. I mean, he's kind of like the face of the recruiting operation.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, it does because Rule leans on it.
Yeah, he's just write him in.
Yeah, Cooper and Garrett McGuire have a big presence. Garrett because he's from down there,
and Knighton down there too.
They all kind of have the presence in their own way. But those three. Knighton has a big presence, not just because he's a big man, because he's got a lot of personality. But he was probably the most interesting. Satterfield really made no bones at all about the fact. Marcus Satterfield made no bones that they're going to try to get Carter Nelson ready to go. Oh, he's on. I mean, he's definitely on their radar. Right? I mean, you hear some stuff off the record. The off the record stuff is what. Yeah, he's on the radar.
He has. And I was talking to Cody from On3 he's our main evaluator and worked in college football. He said, in my years of evaluating college prospects at the D1 level, I've never seen a guy with the mixture of traits of Carter Nelson.
Yeah, I would just say the best way I could put it without violating anything was he's definitely on Matt Rule's radar. Okay. I mean, now you'd say, well, of course he is. He recruited him. Well, yeah, but some guys are more prominent in a coach's thoughts than others. Carter Nelson's prominent in their thoughts. What else?
It's back to work though. Now these coaches have camps and visitors. Friday begins a stretch where they're going to have 7 days of hard camp work over a 10-day period.
Yeah.
And we'll get into all that more in headlines tomorrow. Like
June is ridiculous.
We apologize for messing up your show schedule. Because I mean, when we hear people are like, where's the show? Where's the show? Where's the show? We're going to have to do Thursday, Friday this week.
The last thing I'd say, as far as what we heard from Knighton, for instance, is that Lefatu, Sua Lefatu. Did I get the name right?
Yes.
Most improved player in his room. Made a big jump in the spring. So there's a lot of information. Again, interviews with each of the coach. We didn't have even written anything yet. I mean, I wrote something on Cooper, but there'll be more coming in the days.
Yeah, that's the challenge. Like when you get done, you have about 2 hours to work, and it's a hard but like you have days of content.
Yeah, days.
So I've been to camps like this years ago. I remember the Calabasas one we flew out to California to go to, and it was a good event. Lots of talent there. Sean, we were both there. What stood out maybe as similar or different from the way rules staff operated a camp like this compared to what Mike Riley did?
It's just a different era. Like, and Nebraska's in a guest coach role. They're not running the camp at these things. Like they're guest coaches. Like they're very much in the background and they coach and evaluate and help. But it's real similar in that sense. And I'll say this, the satellite camps in general aren't as big as they used to be. It's because recruiting has changed so much.
And so what has changed to make them smaller? Why do they
roster numbers and demands on coaches in the month of June? I mean, everyone's pulling at you in June. You have players arriving back for the OTA workouts. You have visitors on campus. You have camps on campus, and we'll hit on OTA. We'll do all that tomorrow. Like we have a lot to get to in our show tomorrow too, but because we got to get the break, and we'll hit the mailbag next. You're listening here to the Husker Online Show. And we're back here on the Husker Online Show. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple, Robin Washut, Abby Barmore joining the show for the mailbag. But before we get to that, make sure you give us a try at Husker Online. We got a great promo going on right now. We're going to give you 2 months of access for $1. Just use that promo code NU1. It's the best deal you're going to get. It's for our YouTube and podcast listeners to take advantage of this great promo. That's promo code NU1, 2 months for $1. Let's bring in Abby Barmore now as we take your questions in the mailbag. Abby, what's the starting off question?
First one. Okay. If you could pick a guaranteed win out of Colorado, USC, or Wisconsin, which one would you pick and why?
I'd like to say Colorado. Yeah. Just because of the importance of starting off well. I've seen it here now play out for the last several years in a row. When you lose early in Lincoln, it's hard because the people to start freaking out and panicking. And if Colorado comes in here and beats Nebraska, people are going to freak out and panic. And don't kid yourself. That gets to the players.
Yeah, it does.
It gets to the coaches. It does. So you kind of need to be a front runner early in the year.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's Colorado. Just because for those reasons, but also just the history of what that series has been, the way Nebraska has lost to Colorado, and just kind of the embarrassment that has followed with that. I mean, this rivalry is heated back up just with how frequently they've played over the last few years, but then also just the way it can set the tone for the entire season. They could be darn near bowl eligible by the midway point of the season if they win that game.
Okay, Rob, what if the question is more about which one do you think Nebraska has the best chance to win?
So it was Wisconsin, Colorado, and what?
I'd still say Colorado.
USC.
Yeah, I'd say Colorado.
I would too. I think, and that's the way I interpreted the question. I think it is Colorado, even though Colorado fans watching would say, "Oh, I guess you forgot that last year it was 36-14."
Yeah, but last year Nebraska was about ready to take over that game until Jeff Sims decided to hand the ball to everybody.
Hello.
The Wisconsin game would be number 2, though, just because that could have pretty big implications.
Like that stadium, I don't think Colorado even understands what they're walking into. They're going to walk into a freaking
Hornets.
I mean, Memorial.
We got to come up with another term because we're going to say Hornets Nest way too much. What do we say? We don't have to think about it. We don't have to say it right.
We got to come up with a better. You can't say Hornets Nest
every time. We're going to say Hornets Nest 100 times before the game. We got to come up with something else. I wonder what that is.
Thunderdome.
You're going to walk into a Thunderdome.
That's perfect.
What I envision is just like a bunch of cocky Colorado guys like rolling into like a small town Nebraska
with their
bar
Dion shades
and
on,
just getting their butts kicked by a bunch of like Nebraska cowboy type dudes.
Yeah, when I was covering women's basketball. I was standing by Nebraska women's basketball, standing by an old boy that was watching a practice. I mean, for some reason he was there watching a practice, and the conversation came to an opponent, like how badly he wanted to beat him, and I said, well, this team beat Nebraska last year. He goes, yeah, but wait till they get to our lair. Our lair.
Nice.
Lair.
Snake pit.
Snake pit. That's one.
I should
come
write
up
these
with more.
down.
You know, Nate Rohr is just, I mean, on the PA announcer, that third down. Nate Rohr is practicing that in his car ride every morning right now.
Yeah.
He probably does it in
Let's do
his
breathing
sleep.
exercises to really hold it.
All
The
right.
full 40 seconds of the play clock.
Next question.
Leave it to us to get distracted.
Yeah,
Okay.
God.
I think this is a record number of distractions
Yeah,
today. There's
we're
been
up
a
there.
lot of long stories. Okay, next one. What are Nebraska's chances of landing 4-star linebacker Dawson Merritt? A lot of questions about this one.
Well, he's taking his official visit to Alabama this weekend. He's, I think he's visited both schools. This will be the third visit there. He's been in Nebraska 3 times. I mean, I know Alabama people still feel like they have a pretty good chance with him, but Nebraska really wowed him. He visited twice over a period, but it's hard to really say much until we get out of this weekend when he makes that trip to Tuscaloosa.
Right. He's talked a lot about it. He knows what people are thinking, that Alabama's got the track record, Nebraska doesn't, but he trusts Nebraska that they can make a move, and he'd kind of like to be part of the big move, So it's just fascinating. I mean, right when that came out, that it was Alabama, Nebraska, I thought that's one of the best stories going right now. He's down to Alabama.
Kansas
And
City
Nebraska.
guy, though. Nebraska's got a location.
They got a location element, but just the juxtaposition and where those programs are at is really interesting.
Yeah, if you want to keep your eyes on some high-ranked guys, though, I mean, Doug Utu, the lineman from Bishop Gorman, he visited this week. Polynesian lineman. Obviously, you got the connection with Raiola there as well. And then his teammate, SJ, who's also a highly ranked offensive lineman, SJ Alafa-Tuli, will be here as well on June 21st. And I think those are 2 guys because of the angle of the Raiolas. You got Dylan, you got Donovan and Dominic, the Polynesian pole there.
Yep.
And then the opportunity on this line, because Ben Scott's going to be, there could be a lot of guys moving on. So both SJ, Afalatui, and Doug Utu, I think Nebraska's in that. And their high school teammate, Xander Ruggiolari, is on the Husker roster right now. So those are 2 to watch. I know Doug Utu just wrapped up his visit this week, and I was told it went really well. So we'll see kind of where that all goes.
The big men are the most important. The big men are the most important. And that's, you know what? I'm not breaking any ground there. That's what's going on in Power 4 right now. They're emphasizing, prioritizing bigs because you can go in the portal and get your skill. So now the benefactors of that are the FCS and the Group of 5. They're getting good skill because the power teams are emphasizing the bigs. It's an interesting kind of phenomenon that's going on.
All right, next question.
Nebraska's recruiting operation has improved over these last couple years, but how many games do they need to win this season to take that up another level?
I mean, they got to be in that 7-9 area, I think. I mean, to really feel like it's heading in the right direction.
I was going to say 9, just 9.
But if they somehow got to 8+, they have a lot to sell there. And if Raiola looks good, I mean, I think the key, look, we think Raiola is going to be the starter. I know he's not been named a starter, but if Raiola comes out and looks like a 5-star that's going to play in the pros, guess what pro quarterbacks do? They attract pro recruits, pro transfers.
Yeah, I mean, I think 7 wins is good. 8 wins that raises your eyebrows a little bit. If you're a recruit, that's a significant jump, and there's a lot of momentum, and things are working. And clearly, if they get to 8 wins, that means that Raiola is everything that they'd hope. So, yeah, I'd say probably 8 is your magic number.
I think 9. I think really to get people's attention that haven't been paying that close attention, I think you got to get to the 9.
If they get to 9, they're like looking at top 15.
I mean, if
top
you're at
10
9, you're
class.
knocking on a playoff.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, you got to get people's attention that don't pay attention to Nebraska.
Well,
That's
the
not easy to
game that
do.
can get attention early is Colorado.
Oh God, yeah. It is. That's a big, there's ramifications.
Like
to
the
that game.
UTEP game in Northern Iowa, if they win those games, that's not going to get a lot of attention. But if you beat Colorado on NBC, you're in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
That Friday night game will be big, though. A lot of eyes will be on that game.
Yep. Illinois.
The Purdue game's at 11 a.m., so that will be kind of under the radar.
Lost.
But yeah, you don't have a lot of opportunities to get attention. That Colorado one is going to be the one. All right, Abby, I think we have time. Let's see. All right, last question.
Last one. So the NCAA Outdoor Track and Field Championships are this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So what track and field event do you think you would be best at?
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys run track in high school?
Mm-mm.
No.
I did.
Well, here we go.
Sorry, guys.
Humble brag.
Sorry to set him up.
I just didn't know if you guys were
No,
track.
you're fine. You're fine.
I ran the.
He was a
400.
multi-sport
I ran the
athlete.
400.
Okay.
I peaked at like high 53s, low 54s. I was a serviceable 400 runner. Was not good enough to make state. But
What would you run now?
oh God,
I think that's what we're asking.
Yeah, so what you did in high school.
Right
It's like if
now.
you were to suit up right now.
I think right now, if I was doing an event, it would probably be like a shot put now.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I don't know if I.
No, yeah, I'd be a thrower.
What, Jav?
I can't run.
The
I can't run or
javelin?
jump. No, I'd probably do like hammer throw.
Just to
Is
run.
that still a college event or is that
I
just
don't
Olympic?
Yeah,
know.
it is.
Hammer throw. That's
Okay.
my answer.
To run a 400 even under a minute as an adult
Oh,
would be a hard.
I'd die.
It would take an act of God for me to do that. I mean, race walking right now. That probably, do they have that?
I'm trying to think a 400
Heel to toe,
under a
heel to
minute
toe, heel to toe.
is I think it's a 12.0 speed on a treadmill for a full minute.
God, good luck.
We're good.
Yeah. I'd have to
Maybe
have
pull something.
I'd have to have multiple dogs chasing me for that to happen.
Yeah. We did see two pit bulls running down the street in Houston that got
Yeah.
our attention
Yeah.
this week.
No big deal.
You might have ran a sub 60 in that situation. We're just driving like, hey, Seb, there's two pit bulls just
Yeah.
running down the street.
There's like squirrels down there, you know?
Apparently.
Abby,
Thank you,
what's your
Abby.
event, Abby?
Definitely not running. I don't think. Probably like javelin or
Jav.
something. I think I
Be
can
fun.
figure it out.
Whatever I
that'll be
wouldn't get
fun.
hurt in would be my
That'd be fun.
event.
Which I don't know. That narrows it down quite a bit.
Javelin's safe. Unless you're on the receiving
I
end.
was gonna say, yeah, just, you're safe. Others,
Yeah.
not so much.
They don't even allow it in Nebraska high school athletics.
Yeah, because it's
No.
probably dangerous.
I mean,
Does anybody call it the Jav? I've said that twice. I don't know if they do or not.
what could possibly go wrong with 15-year-old kids throwing spears?
Just hurling spears through the air.
What could possibly-
Yeah.
That's an insurance
That's a good
nightmare.
point. It is.
Like, I can't imagine the safety precautions. If you had high school javelin.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine this. I'd be a nervous wreck if I was the coach. Like, just be careful, guys. You
Yeah,
know?
just knowing how aware teenagers are,
Yeah.
like in general, let alone with projectiles flying through the air that would gourd them.
Here's our javelin practice field. It's like some cornfield about 10 miles out of Lincoln,
Yeah.
where nothing's around.
Right.
That's how you'd have to do it.
I mean, that's pretty much what it would be. But yeah, I don't think I could do a 400 anymore.
So you're throwing a shot, you're throwing the
Hammer throw.
hammer, and yeah, I would say just a long distance race is how I would do it. Just because I can't beat anybody with speed anymore.
Well, long distance.
I never could.
Those guys are running like 5 or 4 minute miles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're running really fast for a really long time.
Yeah, that's trouble too.
This isn't a casual job.
I've aged out of this conversation.
This kid at Fremont, I
I've
watched.
aged out of a lot of
You
conversations.
do pole
by the
vaults.
way.
I can see that.
This
Oh,
Juan Gonzalez at Fremont, he runs nearly a 4 minute mile. He's like right on. I mean, I think he's the fastest time ever.
That's so fast.
You're
I mean, to
sprinting.
even get in that territory.
I mean, he's sprinting.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
He's running faster than that.
Some
than-
guys
than
are-
most guys can sprint.
They're blessed with like big strides, so they cover a lot of ground. But even then, like they're just hoofing.
Yep.
I can't do it.
There was that kid last year from Hardington, and he ended up going to South Dakota State. Farm kid, went to Hardington Cedar Catholic, I believe, and he broke all these records. And he went out to a race in like Irvine, California, like the best cross country meet in the country for high school kids, and he smoked the field.
Really?
And just for some, as a he's one of the best distance runners in Nebraska high school. He's at South Dakota State now. And I think he's doing pretty well there. But yeah, you're just gifted. I mean, to run like that at
Mhm.
that speed,
Oh,
you could train every day and not get there.
right.
Nope.
All right, when we come back,
Good ones, Abby.
Thank
let's
you.
talk some basketball. As the long-awaited transfer,
Say his name.
I am I saw Mike Sauter send Kent Pavelka the pronunciation of that.
Yeah. Perke bujungtischel.
Oh, there it was.
Wow.
Robin turns on this like European translated voice really well sometimes.
I've traveled to Europe many times.
All right, when we come back, we'll talk hoops. You're listening here to the Husker Online Show. Final segment here of the Husker Online Show. Sean Callahan, Robin Washett, Steve Sipple. Reminder, we'll still have headlines later this week. And also, if you're not a member of HuskerOnline.com, remember, try us out. We got a great promo right now. We're going to give you 2 months of access for $1. Simply punch in that promo code NU1 at checkout. 2 months for $1. It's the best deal you're going to get at Husker Online. All right, Robin, let's get into basketball because you've called this shot for a few weeks now that it was going to happen. Finally happens.
Finally did. And it had been trending that way for a while, but just for whatever reasons, just it's got delayed, pushed back. And I think there was a lot of T's to cross, I's to dot with NIL, with just the international aspect of the player. And so for whatever reason, it just took a long time. But I think throughout the process, Nebraska felt really good about where they stood, from really the jump. And really, I think it kind of peaked towards the end of May, shortly after his visit, when he took his second official visit. He visited BYU and Nebraska, and those were his only 2 visits. And so, I think that they just had to kind of get things figured out, make sure everything was squared away, and then finally announced his commitment earlier this week. And it's a big addition for Nebraska because that was the last remaining kind of void when you looked at what the roster had been and what they'd built up. They needed that stretch 4. They needed
stretch 4.
Yeah. And so, he can play a 3, he can play a 4 in a certain lineup. He can play a 5. He's 6'9", 245 pounds, and he shoots 36% from 3-point range. He's a good ball handler. He's a good passer, and he can defend multiple positions. So you can do a lot of different things with Berke Bujungtuschel, and
I love it, Robin.
and that's why he was a priority guy for Nebraska, not only just for the position that he was going to immediately fill, but the versatility that he brought. And really, when you look at the whole roster, that's the name of the game. Maybe outside of Braxton Mia, every one of those guys can play at least 2 different spots, maybe even 3, maybe even 4, just given the different things that they can do. And so that kind of was the icing on the cake for this offseason. They just still do have 1 open scholarship. I think at this point, they're content holding on to it. But again, just having that luxury of an open scholarship in your back pocket for the right player to come around is nice to have. I don't think they're just going to take a guy to take a guy. If they do, it'll be just an extreme developmental kind of shot in the dark type.
Well, Robin, it's nice to have that extra scholarship too for a Jacobson or Sam Hoiberg. He
yes,
anybody deserves.
Like, I get it. Oh, he's the coach. I always kind of hate that when you're like the coach's kid and your dad makes a lot of money and you don't deserve a scholarship.
He's a key player. He helps them win games.
Like Sam Hoiberg should be on scholarship.
He should.
And he's earned, he's earned such respect that I don't think you'd hear that.
No, but you
hear
hear that
from
anyone. Why did they need to give him one? But
Sam's kind of transcended that conversation.
Right. Mm-hmm. No doubt. So again, that's an option too. And you can just be a semester scholarship too. So where like you go into the turn of the new year and you have that scholarship open again for whatever it may be. So that's what I'm saying. Like they're really not going to force the issue with that spot. And if they do, it, maybe like a Matar Chope type guy that comes out of nowhere that, has kind of the skill set that you can build around. And if he doesn't work out, then it's not that big of a deal.
The question, how much different is this player than Andrew Morgan? Quite a bit different.
Much better shooter.
Yeah.
And probably a more versatile defender.
Okay.
He can play out on the perimeter. I don't know if that's necessarily Morgan's skill set. And so the perimeter game is what separates him. And he's probably a better passer too.
Yeah. I just asked because they're similar size. But...
Yeah. So he can be, like I said, in a certain lineup against a certain opponent, he could be a 5 and kind of play that rink master role where he's, at the top of the key, being the point guard and, surround him with shooters. And so that the one question for me, and this came up in our chat this week, is like, all right, so like, what's your biggest concern about this lineup right now? And I just say you're banking on several players being better than what they were last year. Gavin Griffiths, Connor Segan, even Andrew Morgan to an extent. You're banking on guys that fit the profile of what Nebraska wants and the players that thrive in this system doing that. And so if that happens, I think they're going to be good. But if for whatever reason they're not getting the shooting they expect and what they need
Mhm.
out of those guys, that's going to be a problem. Because right now they just don't have nearly the proven 3-point shooting that they did last year. You know, when you lose Casey, you lose CJ Wilcher, you lose Rink Mass. I mean,
Good
that's a
point.
big void.
Yeah.
So they need Berke to be that 36% shooter. They need Connor Season to be the guy that lit him up in Madison out of nowhere, but then for whatever reason couldn't find his footing most of the year. You need Gavin Griffiths to be the top 50 recruit that he was when he committed to Rutgers and just never found his place there. So that's my concern, is these guys that on paper, and if they play up to their potential, look really good, need to get them to play up to their potential.
Coaching. Some
Rob,
of that's just
coach
coaching.
them up.
Yeah.
And quickly, when is the next open period now for AAU? Is it July?
Yeah, they just got out of the dead period right now, so they're in the quiet period, and then there's 3 main like live eval periods in July. Those are the big ones, and so probably by the end of the 3rd live evaluation period in July, you'll start to see visits start to get lined up, like the big officials, and you're already starting to see guys on their 2025 board start to schedule those officials now. Davis Fogel, a kid from Anacortes, Washington, he moved down to Arizona Compass Prep, big basketball power down there. He's probably right there with Amari Bynum on top of their 2025 high school board. And he took an official visit this fall. He's Kansas looking at him, Creighton's looking at him, Gonzaga's looking at him. Nebraska's been very involved with him. So I would, if you were looking for a high school kid in the 25 class to really keep an eye on, Davis Fogel.
Okay.
He's the guy.
All right.
4-star.
Good stuff, Rob.
Nobody
God,
better to follow for Husker basketball than Robin Washut, and he will keep you up to date on all of the news as it happens. And a reminder, we will have full camp coverage this weekend. Nebraska on Friday begins a stretch of 5 consecutive days in a row with different camps on campus. So we will have full coverage of that as well. So make sure you check us out at Husker Online. For Abby Barmore, Steve Sipple, Robin Washut, I'm Sean Callahan.